because
This meeting is being recorded.
Good.
there, okay, we're good to go. Now we gotta be on our best behavior and maybe I ought to comb my hair too.
We want to look pretty for the recording, don't
That's
we?
right. That's right. There we go. This hat really is murder on my hair.
Yeah,
Keeps my ears warm though.
good.
Okay. So I know Izzy used to be was it called the Israeli Defense Force then, Izzy, when you were serving?
Yeah.
Okay. So you didn't feel like volunteering this today then? Well, you got to take care of your wife. That's important too. Okay, so she's not feeling well or
Oh, she is okay now. She is okay.
oh, okay, good.
This was 2 weeks ago or a week ago. We're supposed to go, and now she's much better. She had a bad episode of influenza or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's what I got too. I'm just getting over it. So
Well,
and
I
my
Got it.
huh?
I think just about everybody's got it.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
she was
that's
coughing really bad, and we didn't go to a high 9,000 feet altitude with the air condition. Yeah, that's it.
yeah.
I had a cough that lasted well over a month.
That's right. Yeah.
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 So Ken, you have a presentation, eh?
Yeah, I thought I would demonstrate this digital simulator that I discovered. Back in my working days, we had a really, really good digital simulator, and we used the heck out of it, and I really enjoyed working with it. And after I left, of course, I couldn't take the tools with me, so I kind of felt lost. And then I found this free simulator that runs on both Linux and Windows, and it's a surprisingly powerful simulator. So I got to playing around with it and did a couple of experiments, and it works pretty well. So I thought I would just demonstrate for the group what this Linux VHDL simulator looks like.
Okay. So would you like to share your screen?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it.
Okay. Do you have a button to do that?
Yes, I do.
Oh, good.
But you have to allow it, I think, do you not?
I think I might have to. Let me click on this thing here. Okay. I have checked one participant can share at a time. So I guess it's sure. You can do it now, it looks like.
And it said it wouldn't let me do it, but that may be while you were doing something. Let me try it again.
Okay.
Host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Huh. Let me see what I got here. See if it's under. Oh, okay. There, I clicked on a thing that said allow screen sharing. Try it now.
Okay. Yeah, it's working now,
Ah, good.
I think. It's asking me to click on allow.
No, it's not getting through to us yet.
Yeah, not here.
Usually when I do that, I have to pick one. It presents me a bunch of different screens and I got to pick one, and then down in the lower right corner, it says share this, after you selected it.
Okay, well, I think I just got it going here. Can you guys see my screen?
No.
No.
No?
Not yet.
Well, Well, it's put up a little thing. It's showing the screen that I want to share, and I just clicked on allow.
There it comes.
Ah, there it is.
All right. So this is a console, I guess that we call them, and I've messed around. I tried to download Zoom. I guess I don't have Zoom on my Linux machine, but I guess I managed to get into it okay. So I'm in the VHDL code file. Let me show you what some VHDL looks like. Let me close this down. All right, this is a model of a flip-flop. This is a D flip-flop here. This is a T flip-flop that I modeled down here. That's a constant. You use flip-flops, of course, for just about everything you do. And in particular, I've designed a 4-bit counter. See if I can find the counter. Yeah, here's a counter. I want to use the toggle counter though. All right, that's the wrong file. Well, we don't have to look at the counter right now. We'll look at it a little later. But anyway, I've designed this 4-bit counter that we'll look at in a minute. The reason we do simulations is so we can model our designs before we commit. This is particularly important if you're doing an ASIC, where the tooling for the ASIC can cost thousands of dollars, or if it's a complex ASIC and a high technology, the tooling can cost tens of thousands of dollars. So you kind of want to get it right before you commit to this stuff. And so that's why they put so much horsepower on simulation. You can get some very good models of the hardware, and you run the simulation and confirm that your design works the way you want it to. And so I've got a 4-bit counter. My spec is that this counter starts at 0 and reset, and then counts up to 9 and then freezes at 9. So let me simulate it and see how it works. I should be able to do. Oops. This demo build script I use because I can't type a Linux command line more than 3 characters and get it right over and over. So I just ran a script. We'll look at the script in a minute. So it did the simulation, and now I'm going to look at what the output of the simulator is. This is a waveform editor that's available on Linux. And you see it's loaded my test bench into the thing. So let me show. This is the reset signal for the counter. This is the clock signal for the counter. And you see that it stays in reset, then the clock starts up. And here's the counter output. And so as soon as it goes out of reset, it stays in 0 until it goes out of reset. And then it counts every positive edge of the clock. And the spec was it's supposed to count up to 9 and stop. So here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, it didn't count to 9. It stopped at 8. So clearly the design is flawed, and we need to fix that. We've just saved my company several $1,000s because we didn't go ahead and build this ASIC with a bug in the file. So let me see if I can find the counter. Okay, here's the 4-bit counter. I think this is the one we just simulated.
I think a 4-bit counter would only have 8 states, wouldn't it?
4-bit counter has 16 states. 15, well, 16 states, 0 to 15. It'll count 0 to 15.
So that should be enough then.
Yeah. So here's the bug. I did not correctly decode the stop signal. So let me. This is the way it should be. So let me decomment this. So now this is what we hope is the correct code. So let's save this and close this for the time being and run the simulation again. Okay, so the simulation ran, stopped at 3 microseconds. Sure going to be embarrassed if it didn't work this time. Okay, here's our test bench. Here's our reset signal. Here's our clock signal. And as before, while reset is asserted low, there is no clock. Then when we release the reset, the clock starts up, and then the counter starts up. And it starts at 0. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it freezes at 9. So we corrected the bug, and my company did not have to retool the ASIC. So that's basically how simulators work. Now, this is a fairly simple circuit. Back in the days when we were working at Eagle Teradyne, we did some much more exotic circuits. One of the things that is different is that we did almost all of the VHDL code that we used was in field programmable gate arrays, and they do not have the gigantic expense that you don't have to retool them. You just reprogram them almost like a computer. But this is really critical is when you're doing custom ASICs and you've got custom silicon that, like I said, can cost anywhere from a few thousand to tens of thousands of dollars to retool if you screw it up. So that's my demo. Let me show you what the build script looks like. So I've got 3 source files. GHDL is the simulator that I discovered. And so it does an analysis step on each file, and then it does an elaboration step, which is kind of like a compiler. It converts the VHDL people readable language into something that the simulator can execute. So here's my flip-flop, then here's my counter. And again, we do the analysis, which basically looks for typos and things like that. Then we do the elaboration, which converts this to a machine executable code. And my counter, which we'll look at in a minute. Here's my counter. Yes, in my counter design, I've declared this flip-flop, which was generated in the previous file. And that is a component in this thing, in this counter. And so you see there's 4 instances of it here. There's my flip-flop, blah, 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 4 of them. And so that's how the counter works. And then I have a, see if I can open it here. a test bench that uses the counter that we just saw as a component. And basically what the test bench does is it generates the reset signals, the clock signals, and hooks them up to the model of the 4-bit counter. So this is the VHDL code for all that. And so again, let's go back to the script. So we compile the flip-flop, we compile the counter, then we compile the test bench, and then we do the -R means run this, stop it at 3 microseconds, 3 simulation microseconds, and put the output in a show me file, show me VCD, a value change data file. And then this other tool, which is I guess a product of one of the G, what is it? What's the G thing for G editors and all that stuff? Anyway, it's a product of one of the Linux companies that will take this value change file and display it as a waveform. This is what I would see on an oscilloscope if I built this circuit and hooked it up to a scope and ran it. This is exactly what I would see, and that's the way digital engineers debug their stuff. And so this shows that this will catch an improper design. It will also, by adding timing to the models, you can confirm that you have high enough performance in your circuits to do the job. I have a demonstration of that as well. I might be able to briefly show you that. Let's see what do I have to change to get there? All right, now do I have a script in slow flip-flop? Well, I don't know that I've got the script to execute this right now, but I can show you what the output file looks like. So here's our friend, the waveform viewer again. Here's our friend reset. Clock. This is a much faster clock this time. So the way this is supposed to work is as soon as you go out of reset, let me expand this a little bit. As soon as you go out of reset, these two flip-flops start flipping back and forth. And you see the pattern. This is the working version. And the pattern is that it goes low for 2 cycles, high for 2 cycles, low for 2 cycles, high for 2 cycles. The other flip-flop does the same thing, but it's offset by 90 degrees versus the other flip-flop. And this is the expected performance. And now these two flip-flops, I have intentionally slowed down so their performance is not adequate for the job. And you see, this is working all differently. It's not doing the right thing because these components are too slow to function properly at this clock rate. So here again, I've demonstrated that if I want a circuit that behaves like these two flip-flops, then I better use higher performance circuitry because these flip-flops can't cut it. So there again, it's a case where you want to make sure that your components are capable of running at the desired frequency before you commit to silicon. So that's my story on simulation. Anything to add, Israel?
You're asking me something?
Well, I just wondered if you had anything to add to my blather
me?
about simulation. Yeah.
Oh, it's nice. I mean, I wanted to see the timing. That's very useful.
Mhm.
What's the time scale? I imagine you have microseconds here. Oh, I see up there, 100 nanosecond, 200 nanosecond. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, if I can figure out, there's a way you can set cursors on this thing. Well, I didn't want to
Yeah.
do that. To show the clock frequency, this clock frequency is like 100 megahertz.
Mhm. So what technology are we using here?
Well, this is just models, the
Just
zero
models,
time
okay.
models. But what I did was I put delays in to intentionally slow down
Mhm,
these two flip-flops so they wouldn't run right.
mhm, mhm.
So it just
Good.
simulates the idea that the simulation is, of course, timing sensitive. And
Mhm.
most of the technologies that you work in have very accurate models that include timing performance.
Of course, of the technology. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you
Good.
can use the simulator to prove that your design is functional and correctly functioning and is capable of running at the desired frequency.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I was smarter, I would know how to set another marker to show that this period is 100 nanoseconds.
Yeah.
But I don't know how
I
to
don't know
do
if you remember a little history, but we had the Pinnacle project. You remember that?
that. And the what project?
The Pinnacle project about 40 years ago.
Yeah,
And my job was to design the whole VME interface on a Xilinx chip.
right.
And of course, that was full of bugs, but using a CIRC tool just like this, I was able to debug it. And then when we got to the final point of, okay, let's power it up and run it, and it just ran. It was okay, never any complaints. Took me a
Yeah,
while to debug it, of course, found a lot of bugs. It's great if you can
yeah,
do this.
yeah.
And the Xilinx was, of course, a programmable chip.
Yeah, another big advantage of simulating as opposed to actually executing in hardware is that it is much easier to probe around in these designs and see what's going on
Yeah,
than, particularly with integrated circuits, you don't have access to all the circuit points, all the node points in the circuit.
definitely.
And in a simulator, you do. And you can record the behavior of any of the node points in the design and determine, if something doesn't work, you can determine why it didn't work.
Yeah. It's like really probing in there. Yes, it's great, isn't it?
Mhm.
How do you know that your model is actually matching the real stuff that you base the model on?
Well, what we did was we did a lot of stuff with Xilinx field programmable gate arrays, and part of their tools that build the gate arrays is it produces a VHDL file with timing information.
Yeah.
So you're running a pretty high quality, pretty accurate model of their device with the timing information.
And if you didn't like it, if the logic was right, but the timing wasn't good enough, you can probably reroute that manually and do stuff until it worked.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But luckily, I never had to do that. It just worked for me. But it was like a 120 pin device and a lot of logic going in there. But at the end, it worked as expected. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge business is designing the tools, particularly the VHDL tools, to optimize speed or optimize density or
Yeah.
whatever. And they spend an awful lot of money on those tools.
I think Eagle didn't have to pay for that because we bought a large enough quantity of the chips that it paid off for them to give it away.
Yeah, they kind of stopped doing that after a while.
Yeah.
When FPGAs were just starting to get real popular, we talked the vendors into giving us the tools
Yeah.
to use their silicon, and we worked that way for several years.
Mhm.
And as the tools got more and more exotic and more expensive, they decided that maybe they didn't want to give the store away, so they started selling us the tools.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my story.
Nice. Very nice.
Let's see if I
Yes.
can relinquish my screen here and
Nice presentation. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it is, Ken. So what does VHDL stand for?
well, I figured somebody would ask me that. It's actually the V is actually stands for very high speed logic or something like that, and then the H of HDL is hardware descriptive language.
Language. Yeah.
Yeah, so VHDL is actually two acronyms combined.
Mhm.
And why can't I get back to Zoom? There it is. All right, so let me. I presume I've unshared now. Have you taken?
Let's see.
Oh, it says here I'll stop sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
Now we're back to where we were.
Okay.
Yeah, the other language we used VHDL in the Midwest. It's almost a religion. There's two major simulation languages, VHDL and Verilog.
Mhm.
And ironically, it's worked out so that the people on the coast, East Coast and West Coast, if I remember this right, the people on the coast use Verilog, and the people in the Midwest use VHDL. And we used VHDL because that was the simulator that we had access to
Mhm.
at the time. And we've all of the digital design engineers grew to know and love VHDL. So whenever you talk to somebody that prefers Verilog, you get into a big argument.
Can you convert one to the other one? I'm sure there are tools.
Say again?
If you design in one language, there are converters to the other one.
There are converters that claim they do that, but at the time that we were working with it, they were not terribly reliable.
Yeah.
And the bad news is that I was old enough and steeped enough in VHDL. I made a couple of furtive attempts to try to learn Verilog, but it's like, once you learn Japanese, it's awful hard to go back to English.
Mhm.
And so I every time I started writing circuits in Verilog, I had to keep the manual right next to me to know how to do it.
Yeah.
And then even then it was hard to do.
Mhm.
But
If I remember,
it's a good language. There's nothing wrong with it. It just
I don't remember that for that Xilinx design that I had to look at any write any code like this.
I
Was
think,
that maybe an ORCAD or ORCAD kind of input, schematic input?
yeah, back then, I think we did it in schematics.
In schematics, yeah, which was
Yeah.
easy, relatively easy.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
downside of doing it in schematics is that if you've written it as code, if you've written your design as code, you can make radical changes in the design
Mhm,
in just a half hour or so.
mhm, mhm,
And if you want to make radical changes in a design that is a schematic, it might take 2 or 3 days to redraw the
mhm, mhm,
schematic.
mhm.
And we learned that fairly early on.
Yeah.
Does that include like the circuit boards too, or is that just the basic schematic that takes so long to change?
Well, it just takes a long time to edit a schematic. If you've got a schematic of a circuit board, and then you radically change the circuit, you got to start over with the schematic, and it takes days to redo the schematic. Whereas your description in code now, I don't think you can. Well, you can write code for a circuit board, but we didn't do a lot of that.
No.
But even then, it's just so much quicker to change the radic. I mean, if you just want to tweak something or add a gate here or there,
Yeah.
it's no big whoop to do it in a schematic. But if you decide, oh crap, this isn't working, I gotta really radically change this design, it's much faster to do it in code than to do it in a schematic.
Yeah, all this was actually what I remember. You had like 100 whatever pin chip that you did not have to define the initial pinout of the chip.
Right.
The software just did it for you, and then once it was good enough, you could give now your design to the board people who would actually
Right.
integrate it in a board. Now you could still make changes internally without changing the pinout to a certain extent, but not
Right.
too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big deal. Yeah.
And then you invoke the wrath of the PCB layout people when you
Yes.
start changing pins on a 100-pin design.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
they,
I was able to get away with that. Yeah, we didn't
yeah,
have to change the final pinout. Yeah.
yeah. I think I remember back when you were doing that code. I screwed up the schematic and got a bus completely reversed, a data bus completely reversed, and you were able to go into the code and make the pinout match my screwed up design.
That was something
Yeah.
else later on, maybe. Yes.
Save my bacon that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's really good to know that you can get those tools in both Windows and Linux. And it's nice to see it demonstrated, especially that device where that gives you waveforms.
Yeah.
Being primarily a hardware guy, I mean, I did both hardware and software, but seeing things on an oscilloscope clears up a lot of stuff. And so when you have that kind of display, that makes it nice.
Yeah. And I've really only scratched the surface of what that simulator is capable of doing.
Yeah.
I got it up to where I could write some VHDL code and make it happen in the simulator. But I believe, I'm fairly confident that simulator also supports Verilog, and it will, I believe, also do a fairly limited analog simulation. Although I can't vouch for that 100%. But it's really when I first ran across it, I thought, oh well, this is probably a toy. But the more I read about it, the more I realized this is a serious simulator that does a pretty good job.
Yeah, it looks like it's got potential.
Yeah, well, it's certainly adequate for my hobby work. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, Ken. I just happened to think of something else that we're probably all interested in, and that's we all use our computers sometimes to, store data. Sometimes it's financial data, personal records, photographs and junk like that. Stuff that we're interested in keeping. So just out of, I guess I'd like to know how different people store, back up their stuff, make sure that it's secure, what kind of methodology. Let's see. I have a display up. Why don't I just follow the display and Carrie, how do you store your data on your, what kind of strategy do you have to store your valuable data on your computer set?
I don't do a good enough job. Every now and then I will take a full backup of my data, not the operating system. I figure if it crashes, I'll just reinstall my data to a USB disk. In between that, what I do is, and I've forgotten now for a couple of weeks, but normally every week I email myself a copy of the stuff I use every day, like my calendar and other things that I'm updating every day, or that I'm working on right now. And maybe I'm creating a file right now for a project, and so I email myself a copy. And then if I lose everything, I just get out of email from a few days ago.
So using email, it's part of your backup data then would be in the cloud in essence.
This is not financial stuff. I don't put passwords or anything else. This is like my calendar. I mean, there's nothing big private in my calendar. All the Zoom sessions I go to basically, and remember to take my medicine, that kind of thing.
How about you, Ken? What kind of backup strategy do you use for your data? Oh, you're muted, Ken.
Yeah, were you asking me that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, other than I've got a lot of my financials on Quicken, and I back that up to a network drive every now and then. And other than that, I don't consider most of my data that valuable.
Oh.
A lot of it is just tinker putzing around and doing this and doing that. I guess I back up a few things to a network drive, but sadly, I'm woefully deficient in the backup department.
Well, a lot of people, yeah, I mean, you're not alone. Backing up is, it's got challenges and setting stuff up. Once you do it, it's if you've done it right, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah, if you automate it, that's the real secret is to automate it. But
right.
Until it breaks.
doing?
When it breaks, then you have a problem.
Yeah, until it breaks. Right. I hear you. Well, Microsoft keeps nagging me on my Windows machine to back up to my file that they provide for me.
Yeah, is that OneDrive?
Yeah,
I think.
OneDrive.
Yeah, and I've never done that. I think I'm not comfortable with the cloud. I think that the hackers see that as really ripe fruit, and admittedly, a serious company can do some fairly serious protection, but we read every day that serious companies are getting hacked. And so one of the things that I use Norton a lot, and I used to use their password storage thing a lot. And then I found out that I was storing my passwords in the cloud, and that just made me nervous. I think if I were a dedicated hacker, I would go to these cloud places and try to find some passwords, although they're encrypted. It was just a thing. I think they're probably pretty damn safe, but I just wasn't comfortable putting my passwords up on a cloud machine. So I
yeah,
went to.
yeah, I feel the
went to-
same way as you do.
Mhm.
And I have a password strategy that I like to use. I store my passwords in a password file, but I only store about 3/4 of each password in the password locker. The other 4 characters I store up here, and it's less hackable. On
And
the,
how many of those do you have?
there's no Ethernet cable going from here to my router, so
How many do you have of those in your mind? How many those 4-character strings you keep?
all 4 of them.
But how many passwords do you keep safe?
Oh, I use those same 4 characters.
For the same thing,
Yeah,
100 times.
yeah. Well, you
Oh,
know,
you just have to guess it once. No
Yeah.
good.
so
Well,
so
I
well,
found that-
like for example, my password is typically 16 characters. 12 of the characters I store in one place, and the other 4 I store up here. And I put them together, and for someone to break into my password, they have to break into both places. And so it reduces the chance. Nothing's absolutely perfect.
right.
I guess if someone were to crack 5 of my passwords and say, hey, these 4 characters look the same on all these passwords. All I got to do is break into his password file and we'll have it made.
And now this whole Zoom meeting is recorded and everybody can see that. So now
Yeah.
you just told
Yeah.
everybody your strategy here.
Yeah. Well,
So you better change it now.
I'm kind of proud of my strategy. By the way, I didn't happen to mention where I put those 4. I could put them at the beginning, at the end. Middle is a little more difficult. And then, that's just one way. You could have like let's say a 16 character or 20 character password in your file, and then you paste it to where you want it to go, and then you backspace over the last 3 characters every time. And so anybody who gets your file is not going to be able to use the password, because they don't, unless they figure out that you're backspacing over the first 2 characters or whatever. You can do the same for every password, but the key point is to make it so that the password that you actually use is not exactly that in your password manager. So anyway, that's you can use your own strategy. That's just one that I happen to use, and I think it's a good, not having the whole password in one place, I think is a good strategy. So
I
David,
find when I store passwords in here, they're so secure, even I don't know them.
That's right.
I'm locked out of more things.
Very safe.
so Dave, what kind of strategy do you use for backup stuff?
My primary storage location is this external file right in front of me here. USB drive is my primary backup.
Yeah.
And I have 2 USB keys which store copies of the most recently changed stuff. And that's because I used to have a network drive, but it broke.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't use a network drive anymore. And I do want to go back to something more secure than this thing on my desk here. Just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. Well, at the end of this, I'm going to demonstrate what I do for backup. It's worked for me for a long time, and I have a couple reasons for the strategies that I've developed over time. So Gil, what do you got? What do you use to back up stuff?
You mean passwords?
What kind of strategy? What kind of thinking behind it?
Well, I have a code that ties into what the site is, plus some additional things that tag on the end of it. So I guess if somebody saw enough codes, enough passwords, they could figure out the code, the pattern, and build from there. But
Oh,
just trying to get one or two, I think it's complex enough that nobody's gonna be able to work it out.
well, I was asking about backup, not passwords. I mean, I happen to mention passwords because it's it just happened to pop up, but what I'm asking about is backing up your data, your personal data to, you know, pictures and financial data and stuff like that, stuff you care about.
Okay, well, I don't have very many pictures, but my main backup is I have some thumb drives and I just, update them occasionally.
Okay.
If we're talking about passwords, I mean, there's obviously different things. There's the passwords are logged into your bank so you can transfer money. The passwords are logged onto the library or onto the newspaper. You pay for an online newspaper. But the library and newspaper, I don't really care that much about. So I've got a fairly simple encryption method that I can do in my head, and I write down the word, and I just decrypt it in my head as I type it in. Or things like the bank, I still use the same encryption method or one of several encryption methods, but then I write down something that will be a hint to remind me what the base thing is before the encryption. And that's likely to be historical.
Yeah.
What was I doing when I opened this account? What was my job in doing this account? That's what the hint is. And then, so the hint is, Continental Bank, because we're for Continental Bank. So my job title or whatever, and then I take that job title and I encrypt it and type it in.
Yeah. I guess I'm lazy. I just use the password manager and it comes up with its, I say, give me a number and it gives me a number and with fancy characters in it and junk like that. And
Machine generated passwords.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're secure as hell. They're so secure I'd be locked out of everything if I use
Yeah.
them. But they're good passwords.
Yeah.
I don't trust the password manager not to have a direct line to the Chinese Communist Party or something off the back end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you never know who's going to get control of it.
Right.
So one of the things I back up in a lot of places is my password manager. That file is in. I have like 5 different computers, which I'll go into later, that have all my data, and so 1 or 2 or 3 could catch fire, and I wouldn't lose all my data. So that's just part of my strategy, which I'll talk about later. How about you, Izzy? What do you?
Maybe your password manager uploads it to Russia and China and.
Exactly.
No, I don't use it. I don't back up in the cloud at all. They're all in my house.
How do you know that? Do you write the password
Well,
manager?
you know what? There's no guarantee of anything. I have no incentive. I have provided no incentive that I know of to anyone to remove the data from my house. And that's anybody who has data in their house, it can be stolen. The likelihood is kind of slim. People usually go after more lucrative targets than I am. Who wants my pictures? Who's willing to spend the time to try to break into my computers, learn my passwords and stuff like that?
Yeah, my claim is that other than my banking information, anybody who steals my data is going to be bored to death.
Yeah.
Or they're going to find a bunch of crap that doesn't mean anything to them either. Anyway.
Yeah. So how about you, Izzy?
Yeah, I use an external hard drive, USB connected hard drive. And I'm still using, of course, we are running Windows 10, but they have something from years ago called Windows 7 Backup. And I'm using that as the backup software once in a month or two manually. And that does a full file backup and an image. So the image means that if everything broke, you have everything just one click and it's going to restore it to another hard drive. And once I actually managed to test that, when I replaced my hard drive to a solid state, then that was the time to actually ruin my original hard drive in purpose. I mean, delete whatever, reformat, and restore from the backup. And I wrote down exactly the procedure and it worked. So it's tested at least.
Okay.
And then the other strategy is that I am keeping that hard drive offline for the time I am not using it. It's not powered on and it's off. And the reason for that is that if, of course, it's not going to happen, just like you said, nobody's going to care about you. But if you're going to get a ransom attack and the thing is on, then they will also go and lock your backup. I know that. That's their strategy. So you better keep your backup drive offline. And when I'm doing the backup, I'm disconnecting myself from the network for that night. It takes a few hours. So I'm disconnecting from the internet, do the backup, then disconnect the hard drive and reconnect to internet. So now I think now I am safe from ransom attacks. And that's it. And it works. Whatever.
Yeah,
That's-
you know,
that's
that's a really good point. I had never thought about that. When I back up through my network.
But they will get that. The network, the bad
Yeah.
guys will get
Yeah.
to the network.
You know, I never thought of disconnecting from the internet while I'm doing that. I could do that because,
Yeah,
you know,
easy.
it's all my backups are local network stuff. But if I just grab the plug and
Exactly. Just
Yeah.
grab the router, back it up, and then go back to normal, and that's it.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know, that's a real good point.
That's what I'm doing.
That's a real good point.
Yeah.
Internet
And lately I
access-
am lazy. I do what?
I was going to say this internet access has been a real paradigm shift. I remember back in maybe the 90s, the only time you were online, you know, you'd get AOL or something like that. You'd get online and read your email and maybe poke around on the web a little bit, and then you'd log off and you'd be disconnected. But very slowly over the years, we've gotten to the point now where we're just online constantly.
You have to be online
All our
constantly.
machines, yeah,
Everything is on the, yeah, you have to be online constantly.
yeah,
Even to read your mail.
Yeah.
yeah.
So Patrick,
Oh,
how do you handle it?
you know, first off, I don't put Fidelity stuff on my computer at all. Everything's by the phone. But that's not a good idea sometimes too, because now with AI, they could probably imitate my voice and everything else. But I don't put that account in there, and I only have the banking and the credit cards in there, you know, the small stuff. So and as far as backing stuff up, I use the clouds. I use Google's and Microsoft's OneDrive.
Mhm.
And if it's important enough, I'll back it up from one. I'll have it on both drives, you know, and stuff like, you know, sometimes I want to say, I better work on my budget spreadsheet and see what's going on, but I don't keep you know, anything really important on there that much, you know, except some legal stuff. We had trouble with some lawyer in Connecticut, our Connecticut estate and stuff, so I kept a lot of data on him, but there's really nothing that's really important. And some health stuff maybe, you know, but the people aren't interested in that stuff really, I think.
Right. So,
But that's the
So-
gist of it. And the passwords, I use Google.
Yeah.
Google Chrome
Google
password
Chrome, yeah.
managers, and I use it in on wherever I use Google, which is Linux, and the Chromebooks and stuff, or Windows if I run in the window machine too. That's about it.
So, do you have enough data to where you pay for an account? You get like, I think somewhere between 5 and 15. I think Google is 15 gigabytes for free, and then
Right.
everything over that you got to pay.
Mhm.
I'm up to 200 for what is it, $2.99 a month or something
Yeah, for
on
200
Google.
gigabytes.
And Microsoft is free. I don't know why, but for me it's free. Maybe it was when we first had it, it was free, and I just kept it up. But that's like a terabyte. I couldn't believe it. Anyway,
Well, maybe maybe you're buying some other services like
Mhm.
what's
Yeah, if you do online office, you get a great big gob of online storage. I did that for a while, but I hate online office. So
Mhm.
I don't know, but I'm thankful for it. That's all right.
mhm. Yeah. What, Karen? What do you do for backup?
Oh, Karen, you're muted.
Okay, what I do, excuse me, I either have a website that I put everything on, or I have a flash drive that everything goes on, because over the years, I've crashed many times and lost everything.
Hmm.
And so I've learned through the hard way, that it has to be completely offline. And, learning that way is tough, but it's a lesson that we all need to take and understand. And that's what I do. I keep it very basic. I don't go hogwash wild with anything. I don't use the cloud. And I'm not going to use the cloud. And I am okay with the way everything is right now. When I do a backup, it's very extensive, and I usually wind up having to reboot up my whole system after the fact and start from a completely fresh install. And that's what I do.
Fresh
But I've been in
install,
real estate for
everything.
years, and I've had a lot of contacts and stuff like that, and easy prey for everybody out there. So I have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with the cloud, too, I can bring stuff up on the phone too. If I'm over at a doctor's office, I need to look at and I forget to bring a sheet with my medications or something. I have it in the cloud, and I also have copies of ultrasounds and CT scans and stuff. I can say, well, here I have them. I can, send them to you, or send them through the cloud to you if you need it, or it's we could look at it or whatever. It's helpful that way.
Just don't trust anyone anymore.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
blame you.
man.
Yeah.
I've gotten in hot water more times than not, and I don't want to go through that anymore.
Oh, yeah.
I think AI now is giving us a new way to get into hot water even easier.
Yeah.
Got to be
Yeah,
careful.
Every day brings a new risk.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe we should have a contest with all our members to see who can get into other people's backups and passwords.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
I actually bought a book from Amazon about hacking a couple of years ago, and I read the first few chapters, and I came to the conclusion that it's freaking hopeless. You're toast, man. Anything you do on a computer is available to the bad
Everybody.
guys. They've got more ways of getting your stuff than you can dream up.
It's sad. It is sad that it's gotten to that point.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm gonna give a brief presentation of what I use. I developed this over. I really love my data, and I among other things, I'm a securities trader, so I keep financial records of what I traded and stuff like that, and I have pictures like everybody else and medical records and junk. that I like to keep. So I have my stuff on 5 different computers. I mentioned that earlier. And the reason I decided to have it on computer, well, people just give me computers. I have these, they're older computers, but they hold data just like, a brand new one. So I have basically what amounts almost to like free resources for backing things up, computers that I have on my network. So what I do is, an advantage of that, I found out, one day I got up one morning and I turned on my computer and it turned out the motherboard had fried. Well, fortunately, the night before I had backed up my data, which I had been in the habit of doing, to my laptop. And so I was able to just pick up where I left off the night before without missing a beat. And so that left a real good impression on me that's how I want to keep my data on computers that are ready to go if anything crashes. So I'm going to share my screen here, and this is how I do it. Wait, first I gotta open a file. What happened? Anyway, oh, you can see can everybody see my screen? It's mostly blue. It's got a bunch of things.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Only-
Okay, good. Yeah, I can shut this off. I have a bunch of links here on my desktop. This is a link to my local drive. That's probably the simplest. I'm going to open that up. This is a script file. And I made some notes in it. And this is on a Linux system. And what happens is, see, all these notes, they don't mean anything here. There's a command called rsync. And what that does is it takes every file that's different from the target computer, between the source and the target computer, and it updates the ones on the target computer. And that includes anything that I've deleted or edited or any new files. So that's what this line here, this is the heart of the thing. I have some options here. The delete option is to delete stuff that's not in, that I deleted on my main computer typically. And I have an exclude file because there are files that they're really big and they're, the machine generates them and I don't care about them. So there's a file called a backup exclude file that I use. And then this is the source. All the documents in my home directory. I have a folder called docs. And then the target is this drive that's attached on my computer in a directory called the work directory. So what it does is it backs up everything that I've changed today to that folder. And I'm going to give a quick demonstration. I think I edited only one file today, so it's going to go very fast. So I click on that and then I do run in terminal. And that way you can see what's going on. Here it is over here. It says it's starting to run it to the 1.8 terabyte drive. And let's see. Here's a file that I used to pick up and drop off my grandkids at work. And this is a website file that I change every day. Arlington High School, I went to school there. And I update that. So it should be done pretty soon. Well, if it's not, it doesn't matter. this is about all I've backed up today. I haven't done my financial stuff today. That's about 5 more files, so it's not a big deal. It takes a while to do it, not forever, but oh, here's another file I changed today. But since it's only changing, there, it's done. Since it's only changing or updating the files that I've changed, there's just not that much to it. Now, so I have, this is to a local drive. This is to my media center, which is in my living room. It's a computer that I store movies on mostly. Here's another drive I picked up, another computer that I picked up, shame on me, from a recycling place. You know, I saw it laying there and it said Windows 7. And I said, that's practically a brand new computer as far as I'm concerned. So I grabbed it and I put in a new hard drive and added some memory, and it's one of my prized computers now. And then this is my laptop. I back up to that on Fridays. The media center is Mondays and Wednesdays I back up to. The Optiplex, that's Tuesdays and Thursdays, and this is on Fridays. Weekends I don't do much, so I don't back up on weekends, but I rotate so that I always, you know, I have a pretty recent picture on all the computers, but I know where the latest one is. If something goes to pot, I know where my latest data is. So I guess that's it. Okay, I'm going to stop the share now. There we go.
Do you have a restore procedure for all this?
Well, it's just regular files.
But
So I
let's say you got in trouble, then how long is gonna take you to now restore everything from these other 5 computers? Do you know how to do that? Is it written down?
Let's say my main computer, which is most likely the one to break, and I reinstall the operating system and I find, oh, the data's, you know, the hard drive that I store most of my data on, it got corrupted. So I put in a new hard drive, and then all I got to do is drag and drop that directory from my the latest backup to my main computer.
Backup.
You know, it's
only on one computer, the latest backup. Okay.
Right. Yeah, and then like let's see, tonight's it's Thursday, so it's going to be on the Optiplex.
Okay.
So if my machine crashed tomorrow morning, I go to the Optiplex computer.
Okay.
Now, do you back up your programs as well?
No, just my personal data. Programs, you know, you're always renewing them anyway. They're always getting updated. They're always online.
But if you have an image the way I do it, then all these programs are gonna get restored also.
Well, my programs don't get restored. If my computer crashes, I got to reinstall all the programs.
Do you know how many programs you have and all the programs?
No, I usually find out by the time
when you need
after 2 or 3 weeks go by. I said, I didn't know I had that many programs. But I get a fresh start. My machine is a little cleaner.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So I've done it a number of times. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
You know, and losing programs is nothing. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Losing your personal data, that's a problem. So that's what I care about. That's what I back up.
Losing programs can be a problem. I had this thing that I used a lot to create DVDs, and at some point I lost the computer, and I had to I don't know if I lost it, but it was some issue. So I went to install it on a new computer. The version of software I had I couldn't get it anymore. I had to install a newer version of software. And it had a different format for the files. So I could not load all the old files that I created.
Correct.
2 generations. I could have gone 1 generation forward, 2 generations forward. So I couldn't, from 2 generations old format, I could not load them into the current version of the software.
Yeah.
That used to be an issue with office programs. They change the formats all the time. But that hasn't happened now for the last 20 years or so.
I guess they found the perfect one, huh?
I
No,
guess.
they just maintain compatibility backwards now because people complain, I assume. There's a version in the file, so they know, oh, this is a version of a word from 20 years ago. We used the formatting for 20 years ago.
Yeah, funny thing is, my sister down in Florida, she was working from home, and she was using the Microsoft Word, I guess, and she was having trouble with older versus newer formats, and so I grabbed a file with Open Office and translated it for her so that she could use the version of Office that she was using, which is pretty slick. So, anybody got anything else?
I have another survey question. I have Ethernet network in my house, but my stepson just rented a house that has no Ethernet in it at all. His network has to be Wi-Fi. So my question is, do you guys all use Wi-Fi or Ethernet or blend? I actually use a blend.
A blend, yes.
And
Yeah,
yes,
what I recommend is the Google routers. For Wi-Fi, there is something called whatever they sell, the Google routers, and then if you need more than one because your house the one router doesn't cover all the house, then you get another one, and they're working together wonderful. You don't have to do anything almost to set it up.
I have to be wired because I have an older house, and instead of drywall, I have lath and plaster. Lath and plaster is a wire mesh, which makes an excellent Faraday cage. Wi-Fi does not work from one room to the next.
Oh man, yeah.
Go Wi-Fi from downstairs to the second floor directly overhead, but I cannot go to the next room over because
Yeah.
otherwise it's got a wire mesh. Faraday cage.
Why is your lath grounded?
It's not. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's specifically grounded, but it still blocks the radio signals because the radio signal absorbs into the mesh. There's not enough left over to radiate out the other side, and it would probably be out of sync if it was.
Yeah.
Hook your antenna up to the wire mesh.
I need a big power boost on it.
Yeah. and then the hackers you'd probably show up on Mars.
Yeah, have me directly from Peking.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to relate a situation I had years ago. I bought a pretty nice backup program. I can't remember the name of it now. It's on my other computer, and it would scan all your files and decides which ones changed, like Lester's program does, and then it would encrypt the data and write it off to a backup drive, and it worked beautifully. And you could program it to do this every Wednesday at 2 a.m. or something like that. Well, what would happen is that I would turn my machine off for a while, maybe a week, whatever, and then I'd come back and turn my machine on. And the first thing that happened is this backup program would say, "Whoa, there we go, we're late," and so it would start the process of backing up my files. And the problem was that to scan all the crap on my disk and determine which ones were new and which ones weren't, plus to encrypt them, plus to transmit them to the other thing, when I would start up my computer after being off for a while, the thing was just creep slowly for anywhere from 10 minutes to 2 hours. It would just unusable. It was unusably slow because this backup program was stealing all the cycles to determine which files to back up and how to encrypt them. So I eventually turned it off. I stopped using it because it was such an annoyance to every time I would turn my computer on, I couldn't use it for 2 hours.
So that's why I have mine set up as a manual backup. You don't have to use their timers. And
Yeah.
I just do it manually when I remember, and I just let it run overnight.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's it.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I do mine manually also, but it doesn't have to be done overnight because it
Yeah, you are very
only
little.
takes like two minutes to do
Yeah.
the complete backup. I mean, not backup, I mean, like I have 100 gigabytes worth of files roughly. But it only updates the ones that have changed,
Of
so it
course,
only takes a couple of minutes.
Of course.
Does how quickly? Apparently, this rsync program is able to determine fairly quickly which files have been are up or new.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I don't know how it does it. It just, I've been using it for years now, and it just works great. You know,
Well, there's a bit there's a bit in the files that says whether it's been saved off or backed up or something. And I would think that in the Windows program that took so freaking forever, would just look at those bits, and you could have 10,000 files or 100,000 files on your machine, and it would take minutes to go check that bit.
Windows also has this continuous backup program. I never used it. Continually, it will know what files got changed and get backed up right away. You can use it. It's running in the background all the time. I never used it, but that's a good idea too.
Here's a challenge.
Always backed up.
Here's a challenge we need for our PCs. On the mainframes, back even in the 1990s, you would buy the hardware and you would say, okay, here's my disk drive. It was actually in the disk drive. It was connected to a disk drive 100 miles away. Every time I wrote a record to the disk drive, it got written 100 miles away at the same time. Every single damn record. And it was actually an extra disk, because it might have to be buffered because you might be able to do real time. But the physical hardware would remember everything I wrote to it and keep this other hardware 100 miles away in sync. Okay, that was done in hardware on mainframe. Okay, well, on a PC, we should easily be able to say, okay, every time you tell the kernel to write the file out, also send it to the network and write it out to another computer, 10 miles away or whatever. And we should be able to do that very easily in Linux, but nobody's doing it. I don't know why.
They were doing it with the mainframes years ago too. They'd had duplicate systems and they'd have backup sites, and oh my God, it was a nightmare.
Okay, I think I have to go. My wife is calling me. Otherwise, I'm gonna be in trouble. So thank you very much. Good night. Bye, everybody. Yeah.
Night.
Good to see you, Izzy.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
bye, Izzy.
Bye.
I'm gonna have to leave also. So I'm gonna say goodnight to
Okay.
everyone.
Okay, Gil, it's nice seeing you again.
Yes.
Take care, everyone.
Yeah,
Take care.
okay. Anybody got anything else? I guess we could all,
I'm gonna go for a battery change tomorrow. My defibrillator's at the 10-year mark. So it's scheduled for tomorrow. Should last another 10 years. So I'm 80 now. So I should be able to make 90. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, good luck.
Thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Batteries changed, huh?
Well, they changed the whole unit. They put the latest technology in when they do this. They do it every 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm. Does that require a surgery, or are they accessible?
Yeah, you have to open it up here and take it out and switch the wires to the new unit and all whatever. If they have to go in and change wires and stuff, but then it gets a little involved,
Yeah.
But I think
Well,
everything's all right.
Good luck, Pat.
Julie, okay? Well, why she's not here?
Excuse me?
Oh, what was that again?
Julie okay? Do we know why she's not here?
Well, she's in Chile
Chili.
Oh,
on vacation, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
She didn't say why she was there. She just said she was there.
okay. I thought your email said it would be either you or she opening up the session. I guess I misunderstood.
Yeah.
I believe she has family there, doesn't she?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. She had family down there. She was going to visit. Maybe she'll come back with a llama.
Yeah.
She said, did she say her bird's not around anymore? The bird died?
Would she have one of those emails or what?
I don't know. I guess I'm not a very social person. I didn't take note at all. I just
Well, yeah, but that bird used to spice up the meeting a little bit every now and then. He'd sit on her shoulder but I think the last time I referred to it, I think she said the bird died.
I don't remember.
They would need a babysitter if it was still alive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, I got to go get some supper, so
Yeah.
I'll see you guys next month.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I got to figure out how to save the recording. Yeah, and then I'll,
Am I going to see that on YouTube now?
yeah, you know what? I don't know. What I ought to do is send everybody a note and tell them what I did with the recording, assuming I can figure out how to save it. It gave me a choice, either save to the cloud, which spooky.
Well, there
So
we
I
are.
said, no, the other choice was save it to my machine. So I know I can find it on my machine. So
When you're in the meeting, it will start converting a raw file. That will take like half as long or a third as long as the meeting took. So don't interrupt it while it's converting the file. Maybe
Yeah.
you just have a file on your machine. Do whatever you want with it. It'll
Yeah.
be under documents too, or is this Linux or is this Windows?
yeah, Linux. Yeah.
I'm not sure where it is, but somewhere will be there will be a directory called Zoom. Under the Zoom, there'll be a directory for this meeting, and under that will be the MP4 file, and if you save the chat, that'll be there too.
Okay. Yeah, I got to save the chat. Yeah. Let's see.
I just looked at the chat. There's not much there.
Yeah. Okay. Save chat. There we go. There. That's done. Yeah.
Okay,
As
I'll
soon
be-
as I don't save it, I said, well, I put something in chat for you to see. And so now I got it.
Okay, well, I'm going to be watching YouTube for that video.
Okay. Well, yeah. YouTube's a big place.
Yeah.
Check the email. You'll have more luck. Because that's what I'm going to use.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
Okay, I'm gonna say
Bye,
goodnight.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Right.